Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC, your home for all the biggest Liverpool updates. Today we've got huge news. The Isak transfer saga is heating up, with Wayne Rooney, Fabrizio Romano, and Sky Sports all dropping bombshells, from Rooney's surprising comments to Newcastle legends exploding over the Liverpool links and Fabrizio Romano's latest updates. We're breaking it all down right here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with every twist and turn in the transfer window, WNWA. Wayne Rooney missed the point with Alexander Isak Liverpool transfer comments. Real issue is clear match of the day debutant. Wayne Rooney had his say on Liverpool transfer target Alexander Isak. The Premier League is back, and with it match of the day was on our screens this Saturday night, a welcome sight for fans up and down the country. It returns with a number of changes to the regular lineup of hosts and pundits, the biggest of which was alluded to at the start of the show. One of a trio of new hosts for the main show, Mark Chapman, pointed out the permanent addition of Wayne Rooney to the pool of former professionals giving their insight into the action. That was a sarcastic quip, of course, knowing he, Gabby Logan, and Kelly Cates have the important shoes of Gary Lineker to fill. So Chapman led Rooney and fellow pundit Alan Shearer through Liverpool's win over Bournemouth on Friday night as well, as all of Saturday's matches that marked the top flight's return. The most interesting part of the show was when they landed upon Newcastle's goalless draw at Aston Villa, surprisingly. There was actually so little to talk about from the game itself that they had to pivot to the topic that has been dominating our web browsers and social media feeds for the best part of a month, Alexander Isak. The Magpies' one-away striker was not involved in the fixture as he reportedly angles for a transfer to Liverpool. It's implied the 25-year-old has chosen to never play for his current club again in order to forcefully get what he wants. And amid Shearer's fume, Rooney posed a question that all but proved he has missed the point entirely about why this saga has gone the way it has done. Also for the team who's trying to sign him, obviously it looks like Liverpool who's trying to sign him, you have to wonder if that's the sort of player you want, he asked. A player who is going to desert his teammates, who's going to walk away from a huge football club. It's a good opportunity with Liverpool, but it has to be done in the right way. I don't think it is. Isak is doing this because he has done all he can do at Newcastle. They provided him with the opportunity to bring his career to the Premier League, and in return, he has helped them qualify for the Champions League in 2 out of the last 3 seasons, whilst winning their first major trophy in 70 years. The Sweden international now desires Liverpool so that he can have the chance to win that European title and also the Premier League title, which, being harshly realistic, neither is going to happen in the Northeast without a Leicester City-esque miracle. Yes, he signed a 6-year agreement and that should be respected. Liverpool would be equally as furious if the shoe was on the other foot. Perhaps the question Rooney should have been asking Shearer instead of fueling his rant would be, why are Newcastle holding their player back? I was eyed by Man Ut and Liverpool. Now, I could help out Alexander Isak. Alexander Isak's future with Newcastle United remains up in the air as the striker missed the Magpies' trip to Villa Park on Saturday, and the arrival of one League One star on Tyneside could help move him on. Gonçalo Ramos has been linked with a move to Newcastle United, where his arrival could help put an end to Alexander Isak's dramatic transfer saga. The Swede has reportedly claimed he will never play for the Magpies again, regardless of whether he secures a move away from Tyneside before deadline day. Liverpool remain the only likely destination for the 25-year-old at present, but are yet to re-enter talks with Newcastle after seeing their initial bid of $110 million plus add-ons rebuffed, and with less than 2 weeks to go before the summer. Window shuts, all parties involved will hope for a swift resolution for the striker one way or the other. As a result of Isak's absence, Anthony Gordon was deployed as a makeshift striker during Newcastle's goalless draw with a 10-man Aston Villa, away from home in their Premier League opener on Saturday. And without a proven number 9 in their ranks for their clash with Liverpool a week on Monday, Eddie Howe will be eager to recruit himself a new frontman before then. The Magpies have been quoted 40 millers for Brentford's Yoan Wissa, who scored 19 goals in 35 outings for the Bees last term. And with the 28-year-old seemingly favoring a move to St. James's Park, it could only be a matter of time before a deal between the two clubs is brokered. However, it's former Manchester United and Liverpool target Ramos, who Newcastle have recently been linked with, which could prove incredibly fruitful in finding a new home for Isak in the coming weeks. The 24-year-old has impressed with Paris Saint-Germain since joining the League One Giants in 2023, with 34 goals to his name across all competitions thus far. The Red Devils were reportedly in talks with PSG to bring the center forward to Old Trafford this summer before swooping for the trio of Matheus Cunha, Benjamin Sesko, and Brian Mbeumo, while it is said that Liverpool are currently assessing the suitability of Ramos at Anfield in the event that they are unable to secure Isak. It wouldn't be the first time that the Reds have taken one of Newcastle's targets this summer, hijacking the Magpies' chase of Eintracht Frankfurt star Hugo Ekitike and welcoming him in a 79mm move. However, holding off on Ramos to allow Newcastle to sign him could prove incredibly beneficial for Liverpool in their pursuit for Isak. With two strikers in Wissa and Ramos in their ranks, it may spur Newcastle to provide a little wiggle room on their firm 150 million valuation of Isak at present, which could see the Reds meet them in the middle to take him off their hands. Oliver Glasner sends cryptic transfer message amid Mark Guéhi and Liverpool talks. Mark Guéhi continues to be linked with a move to Liverpool this summer, although Crystal Palace boss Oliver Glasner has raised some doubts over the possibility of him moving to Anfield. Crystal Palace boss Oliver Glasner issued a cryptic message as Mark Guéhi and Ebereki Eze continue to be linked with moves away from the club. The former is the subject of interest from Liverpool, with the Reds exploring the possibility of signing Guéhi before the summer transfer window shuts. The England international is due to be out of contract in just under 12 months' time, meaning this would likely be Palace's last opportunity to receive a fee for him. Reports have suggested that Liverpool will recommence talks with the Eagles on Monday, with a little over 2 weeks to go now until the current window ends. Eze, meanwhile, finds himself being heavily linked with a move to Tottenham. There were doubts before Palace's opening Premier League game against Chelsea on Sunday whether he would start, given the speculation is growing. Both Eze and Guéhi, though, were named in Palace's starting lineup at Stamford Bridge, with Glasner suggesting there's still a possibility both could stay put this summer. Asked what Eze's mindset was like amid the speculation around his future, Glasner told Sky Sports, "Very good, otherwise he wouldn't start. I mentioned in the press conference before the game Mark and Ebbs really trained well the whole week, and of course there's no reason not to start him. Good advice to all the children watching us. Don't believe everything you read in the newspapers." Despite Glasner's message, Palace chairman Steve Parish has hinted the club will have to look to offload Guéhi this summer rather than lose him for nothing next year. For players of that caliber to leave on a free, it is a problem for a football club, Parish said. There is no doubt about it, unfortunately. Joachim Andersen went and we couldn't afford to lose both of them. We then had another bid in January, but that was a difficult situation as well. Giovanni Leoni training plan revealed as 26 Mauser signing awaits debut. Giovanni Leoni will begin training with the Liverpool squad next week, with the $26 million center-back now eligible to make his first-team debut, with no first-team fixture. Until next Monday away to Newcastle, Leoni is able to take some time to settle in the UK before training resumes. Arne Slot is set to welcome his players back at the AXA Training Center on Tuesday as preparations begin for the first away trip of the new campaign. We'll train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so it's a nice week to come into the group. We have quite a long week towards Newcastle, the head coach told his latest signing on Friday. Leoni should be available against Newcastle bar any late fitness issues, and the teenager could take a place on the bench as he is considered an immediate first-team option. Leoni's switch from Parma to Liverpool was only made official hours before kickoff in the opening game of the Premier League campaign. Owing to registration rules, the 18-year-old was therefore not able to feature, though in all likelihood Slot would not have considered him even if the paperwork was completed in time. Instead, Leoni watched the 4-2 win over Bournemouth from the stands at Anfield, sitting in the area typically occupied by club officials and guests in the main stand. The Italian met some of his teammates after the game and was pictured standing alongside Alisson, with Slot pointing out the height difference between the goalkeeper and the lofty defender. Leoni is, of course, eligible to feature for the U21s, but it is unlikely he will be called upon for their league opener against Leicester on Monday night. That would impact on his involvement in senior training the following day, at a time when Leoni will be looking to make a strong first impression on Slot, his staff, and the squad. Liverpool were boosted by the return of Joe Gomez for the win over Bournemouth, and he came off the bench to play the final 18 minutes at right back. With Connor Bradley sidelined and Jeremy Frimpong feeling the effects of his Premier League debut, being brought off after an hour due to a hamstring complaint, the number 2 will be required for cover at right back. But ahead of an expected move for Crystal Palace captain Mark Guéhi, Slot does at least not have 4 established options at center-back and starters, Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate, and backups Leoni and Gomez. Ben Doak set to complete 25 Maller's Bournemouth transfer as Liverpool eye new signing. Ben Doak is putting the final touches to his 25 Maller's move from Liverpool to Bournemouth. Ben Doak is set to complete a 25 Maller's move to Bournemouth after Liverpool reached an agreement over the weekend. The Scotland winger had been wanted by a string of clubs, including Portuguese giants Porto, West Ham United, and Wolves, but talks accelerated with the Cherries on Friday. And now the Echo understands Doak is wrapping up the formalities of the move and is on the cusp of confirming a permanent transfer to the Vitality Stadium in a deal worth 25 million, 3 years after the Reds brought him to Merseyside from boyhood club Celtic for around $600,000. Doak made 10 senior appearances in total at Anfield and spent last season on loan at Middlesbrough, where he impressed with 3 goals and 7 assists before suffering an injury in the second half of the term that curtailed his campaign early. The 19-year-old had been wanted by both Crystal Palace and Ipswich Town in January prior to that fitness setback, but Liverpool valued him considerably higher than the fees of around 15 million that were mooted at the time. Reds officials valued the youngster at closer to the 30 million mark and have now reached an accord with Bournemouth that will see him move permanently for 25 million after he was left out of the matchday squad for Friday's game between the teams at Anfield. The Cherries have been in the market for a replacement for Dango Ouattara, who has been signed by Brentford for 42.5 million to succeed the Newcastle United-bound Yoane Wissa, and Doak was identified as the ideal candidate by sporting director Simon Francis and head coach Andoni Iraola. The deal means Liverpool will have raised over 215 million in sales so far this summer, following the departures of Trent Alexander-Arnold, 10 million, Jarell Quansah, 35 million, Cowie Kelleher, 18 million, Tyler Morton, 15 million, Luis Diaz, 65 million, Nat Phillips, 3 million, and Darwin Núñez, who moved to Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia for an initial fee of around 45 million earlier this month. The Reds' net spend for the summer transfer window now sits at 105 million, inclusive of add-ons. Teenage defender Giovanni Leoni became the 8th capture of a busy few months of player trading on Friday when he completed his 26 million switch from Parma. Doak's transfer means Arne Slot is left with 5 frontmen to fit into his 3-man system, with teenager winger Rio Ngumoha providing backup for Cody Gakpo, Hugo Ekitike, Mohamed Salah, and Federico Chiesa, who all scored in Friday night's 4-2 win over Bournemouth. Liverpool remain ready to return to the table for Alexander Isak, if given encouragement from Newcastle, who drew 0-0 at 10-man Aston Villa on Saturday without the Sweden international in their ranks. The Premier League champions had a 110 million offer for Isak rejected by the Magpies at the beginning of the month. Speaking after that goalless draw at Villa Park, Newcastle boss Eddie Howe said, "Nothing has changed, but the door is well and truly open for Isak. But he has to decide what he wants to do. We would like a resolution. When I say we, I am talking about myself and the ownership, the players. We need that clarity. This season, any Premier League season, is hard enough. You don't need any type of distraction to swerve your thoughts and unbalance what we are doing. I am certainly not in control of that. There is only one person who is in control of that." Newcastle United legend explodes on Alexander Isak for Liverpool transfer saga. Alan Shearer is not impressed with Alexander Isak for derailing Newcastle United's start to the Premier League season. Alan Shearer has strongly condemned Alexander Isak for shaming Newcastle United in recent weeks. In what has become the leading transfer saga of the summer, the Swede is downing tools to try and force a move to Liverpool. The Reds saw an opening offer worth around $110 million rejected earlier this month. Newcastle value Isak, who has 3 years remaining on his contract, closer to the $150 million mark. As it stands, the striker is training alone despite Eddie Howe putting the ball in his court to stage a potential comeback. Newcastle United draw at Aston Villa. Isak bailed on the club's pre-season tour and was sitting at home while the Magpies began their Premier League campaign. The lack of a goal scorer was evident as Newcastle drew 0-0 against 10-man Aston Villa. Anthony Gordon led the line, with Will Osula being introduced in the dying embers. Toon fans made their feelings known regarding Isak at the full-time whistle. Alan Shearer slams Alexander Isak. Responding to Wayne Rooney on Match of the Day, Newcastle legend Shearer hit out at Isak for his recent conduct. He said, "You put in a transfer request. You didn't refuse to train, you didn't refuse to play, so there is a way to do it, and Alex is not going about it the right way at all. You have to feel sorry for the players and the manager. The players today are busting a gut for the football club. For the thousands of fans who have traveled all that way to Villa Park, they're giving their all. Yet they're looking at another player wherever he is, refusing to play despite having a 3-year contract and being on over $100,000 a week. The fans are paying $60 or $70 for a ticket, $30 for petrol or a train ticket. You can imagine the anger that they're feeling, that someone is taking the liberty of saying, 'I'm refusing to play.' You just can't do that when you've got a 3-year contract. I also understand there's 2 sides to every story, and we've never heard anything from him or his side yet. It's all leaks or reports. There is still a chance, albeit a small chance, that he could be integrated back into the team if he says sorry. It's unlikely that that's the case, but if it gets past the transfer deadline day and there's still an impasse and no one's budging and he's still at Newcastle, I can't see a way. Back then,